Welcome to Blooms in the Yard. I'm Kate and I garden in Shawnee, Kansas in Zone 6B. Today's video is my top 12 favorite natives. If you enjoy this video, it would be awesome if you would consider subscribing. I'm going to be honest, I'm not growing natives for the bees and butterflies, and I'm not growing natives to restore the native plants in my area. I'm growing natives selfishly because I want plants that will thrive in my area. I want plants that I'm not going to have to baby, so it just made sense to me to grow plants that would naturally be in my area. In theory, they should be able to live without me, right? True, if you plant them in the right spot. If you've seen any of my tours, you know that I grow a ton of plants that are not native, but I am starting to include some natives in my landscape to have some more plants that are low maintenance. I've had some successes and some failures. In general, my gripes with natives would be that the flowers sometimes aren't as showy, or that they might look good during their bloom time, but then maybe the foliage isn't as attractive the rest of the year, or maybe the habit of the plant just isn't very attractive. But I have had some that I really like. So I made a list of my top 12. Most of them have really nice blooms. They're more showy than you would normally expect from natives, and they don't have a bad growing habit. So by that I mean the overall shape of the plant is not too leggy or floppy. One example of a plant that I had to ditch was this blue vervain because it was just too crazy where I had planted it. I'm not going to talk about plants that most people have heard of, like bee balm, echinacea, black-eyed Susans, Joe Pyeweed, Solomon seal, and Baptisia. Those are all great natives, but I feel like most people are already familiar with them and they're pretty readily available. The plants on my list are probably ones that a lot of people haven't heard of, so it'll be something new to try. I get these plants at a native plant sale in the Kansas City area. It's twice a year in April and September. I really enjoy going and just trying a few new things every year. You may be able to find nurseries that specialize in natives in your area. I know that we have a few. I'm not going to list them because I don't have any personal experience with any of them, but a quick Google search will help you find some places that you can try. You can also order online, and again, I don't have experience with any of the online stores, so I'm not going to make specific recommendations. Let's get to the plants that I love and why. These aren't in any specific order, but I am going to start with my absolute new favorite. I'm going to do sun plants first, and then I'll do shade plants. So my first one is purple Penstemon. Penstemon cobiea. I'm probably not even going to try to pronounce some of these Latin names, but I will have the Latin names on the screen because these go by a lot of different common names. This purple Penstemon has larger, showier blooms compared to the other Penstemon that you may be familiar with. The leaves have a waxy sheen that makes them look really healthy and happy. I have mine growing in full sun. They are native to the southern Great Plains, so they like poor soil. It says it should be well drained to perform its best, but mine is growing in unamended clay soil. Prolonged periods of drought in the heat of summer can signal the species to enter early dormancy. So I think that this actually happened the first year and I thought I had lost them, and then the next year they came back. These started from a 2-inch pot. I planted them in fall. It definitely took them a few years to get going. Now, this year they looked amazing. Set aside some extra space around them because they can be overwhelmed if they're near something that's like an aggressive spreader. I did recently cut back some things around mine. I wanted to give them some space. Here's the tag, and you can see why I bought it. I mean, look at this picture. I find that you have to go off of the pictures at these native sales because often the plants are not looking their best. I mean, natives are going to have their prime bloom 3 weeks out of the year. And so if that isn't, September 20th when the plant sale is, then you're not going to really know what it looks like other than going off the tag. So you just kind of have to trust and experiment. This is what the plant looked like after I cut it back to the ground and it grew back in. Number 2 on my list is Foxglove beardtongue, and the Latin name is Penstemon digitalis. Well, I've found mine can be 3 or 4 feet tall. It has small white tubular flowers. It attracts bees and hummingbirds. It prefers medium to dry medium soil, but it can adapt to different light conditions. I do have mine growing in full sun. In the wild, it grows in clearings in forests or along the edge of the woods or in a savanna. And it grows from Canada to Texas and from the East Coast to Kansas. I like the Foxglove beardtongue because even though the flowers are small, there is a profusion of flowers. And then when the blooms are done, I cut it back all the way to the ground, and in about 2 weeks, you have this nice new foliage growth at the base, and it stays really nice looking for the rest of the season. With these natives, one thing I'm really looking for is that once it's done blooming, it's not going to be an eyesore. Number 3 on our list is purple poppy mallow. The Latin name is on the screen. It's native to the Great Plains. So, I'm in Kansas, so a lot of these are going to be native to the plains. It has cup-shaped magenta flowers, and it starts blooming in spring and blooms all through summer. So really long bloom time on this one. They do have a pretty foliage, this kind of dissected foliage, maybe similar to a geranium. It says that mature plants spread to be about 3 feet. Mine's actually grown closer to 5 or 6 feet wide, but they kind of play nicely with others. So this can be growing kind of underneath some of your other things. If you have a tall and upright plant, this could really do well growing under it. It does require full sun, and it thrives in depleted, gritty, dry soil. Too much moisture and shade can make this rot, but I have never had a problem with that. It develops a very long taproot, which is great because it makes it drought tolerant, but it does make it a little more difficult to transplant. I have moved mine a few times and it takes a while to recover, as in the entire season. And you don't want to cut it back or it will stop flowering and it won't start flowering again. I love this plant because it blooms forever. It has really pretty blooms. It has interesting leaves. The one downside for me has been that the bunnies do eat it. As I said, it doesn't recover quickly from being cut back. All of my good pictures were from when this plant was inside of my bunny-proof fence area, but it overtook the path and got too big in there, so it had to be moved back out. And this picture is what it looks like now because the rabbits are continually eating at it. Number 4 on my list is the Showy Goldenrod, which is a North American native in the aster family. It grows in the eastern and central United States from the Atlantic coast to the Great Plains and up into Ontario, Canada. This goldenrod is not aggressive like some in the genus. This goldenrod has fibrous roots, not rhizomes, unlike the Canadian goldenrod. It will spread slowly to form clumps but will not overwhelm an area. This is a great plant for late summer and early fall. The height is listed as 4 feet, but mine is currently about 6 feet. It's one happy plant. It's easily grown in average to dry soil. It likes full sun and will tolerate poor soil. It grows in open fields and prairies. I like the showy blooms of this goldenrod, as the name suggests, and it is long blooming. Number 5 on my list is Downy Skullcap, also called hoary skullcap. It blooms in mid to late summer. It spreads by seeds and rhizomes, and it can form tightly packed colonies. The first time I grew it, it was uprooted when a trellis blew over in a storm. Last fall, I planted it again, and it's just now blooming, so I can't speak to the colonizing nature of this plant. It says online that Downy Skullcap prefers partial sun and medium soil. I do have it growing in full sun with its roots shaded by other plants. It can tolerate clay soil and rocky soil. Find this plant in forests, rocky slopes of woodlands, rocky shorelines, and thickets. I really like the blooms on this plant, and I look forward to seeing how it will do in my garden long term. Here it has kind of flopped over, and then I have flowers coming up from all different spots along the stem that has gone horizontal. So I think that's kind of a nice look, and I'm enjoying that right now. All right, moving right along to wild ageratum. It's also known as blue mist flower. It resembles the annual ageratum that you may be familiar with, but it is taller. It is native to the eastern US. First, let's talk about the good things. It has amazing, healthy looking foliage throughout the whole season. It starts blooming in July or August, and it blooms all the way until frost, and the blooms just keep getting bigger and better. Wild ageratum has fluffy bluish-purple flower heads that attract pollinators. Butterflies love this plant. It does spread via rhizomes, and it can be found in moist, sunny to partially shaded areas, although mine has no problem drying out. This plant should really come with a warning. In the words of Scar from Lion King, be prepared. It spreads aggressively. The roots are not deep, they're not difficult to remove, but you do have to get out every single little piece of root. I just dig up the new growth around the edges each year in early summer to keep it under control, but some people may not want to deal with that hassle. In general, I prefer to grow a plant that grows a lot, and then I can pull out what I don't want, rather than try to get something to grow that barely has the will to live. So that's kind of my gardening style, but you do you, right? This flower also makes a great filler flower for cut flower arrangements. This is my wild ageratum in my garden right now. You can see that it's just starting to bloom, so it will be just getting more and more as the season goes on, and you can see how great the foliage looks in late July. Number 7 on my list is coral honeysuckle. Honeysuckle has gotten a bad name due to the invasive Japanese honeysuckle that has taken over the woodlands in my area. But this North American native is beautiful and it deserves to be used more. I have the major wheeler honeysuckle, which is a cultivar of the native coral honeysuckle. It originated from a natural selection which was found in North Carolina. This is one of the hardiest red flowering honeysuckle around. It will quickly grow to full size. It starts blooming in spring and has a big flush of blooms, and then it will continue to bloom throughout the summer. It has many long red tubular flowers that just cover the vine. This is a favorite among pollinators, especially hummingbirds. I love this plant, but I had it growing next to some magenta peonies, and I did not like the colors together. So I moved the major wheeler honeysuckle out, and I got a peaches and cream honeysuckle, which is a cultivar instead. And I have to admit, it's been much less vigorous, and I am missing my major wheeler. You would find this in forests in the eastern United States. The Prairie Moon Nursery website has a range map for all of these native plants, so that could be a really helpful tool if you want to find out if it grows in your area. Prairie Moon Nursery. Here is the peaches and cream, which I got to replace my major wheeler because it was just more of a pink and less of an orange, and so I thought it would go better in my garden. It does have a little bit of the light yellowish orange, but the red is more of a pink. And like I said, it hasn't been as vigorous of a grower, but it is still going to be pretty in time. Okay, my next native plant is Virginia Sweetspire, or Itea. It's deciduous here. I think it's semi-evergreen. In some places it is a shrub. It's native to the southeast United States, west to like Texas and Missouri. In its native habitat, it's found in moist woods, swamps, along stream banks. Since Virginia Sweetspire can tolerate some flooding, it's a good plant for rain gardens or along the bank of a creek. It can form dense colonies with its root suckers, but it could be good for stabilizing a slope. So ideal conditions are moist, slightly acidic, but Itea tolerates a wide range of soil conditions, so I have no problem growing it here. Mine got a little too big where I had it planted with a lot of sun and with a decent amount of moisture. I moved one to the east side of my house where it gets less sun, less water, and now it's just better behaved, so it's not growing as big. This plant blooms on the previous season's wood, so pruning needs to be done right after flowering. Don't prune it in the spring. The straight species isn't usually sold. I have the cultivar Little Henry. It has bottle brush-like flower clusters in the late spring. I actually prefer the bloom before it opens. I just think it looks a little bit prettier. Fall colors are kind of showy. They can be like yellow, orange, red. And it is supposed to be deer resistant. You might notice that several of the plants I've chosen can take a wide range of soil and moisture conditions. This is what I'm shooting for because we have hot summers where things are going to dry out, and yet we have clay soil. So things are going to sit in water at times. So it's just kind of inevitable that I need something that can deal with both of those things. Okay, time to move on to my top native plants for shade. My first shade plant is Jacob's Ladder. Like many spring blooming natives, the bloom time is kind of short but very sweet. In April or May, the plant will be covered in blue blooms. The bonus for this plant is that it has pretty compound leaves that really add a lot of interest for the rest of the season. I have mine growing in deep shade under an Annabelle hydrangea. I've recently added 2 more, and I look forward to having more next year. Jacob's Ladder prefers woodlands, so almost full shade and like the edges of a woodland, so maybe partial shade. A mature plant will reach maybe 1 foot, so this is not a big plant, and it is supposed to be deer resistant. Plant number 10, Wild Stonecrop, also called Woodland Stonecrop. It is the most widespread native sedum to North America. I was really drawn to the interesting shape of the white flowers, which bloom in April or May. This is a shade-tolerant species. It's found in the forest understory. The first year I bought this, I didn't research properly, I didn't really read the tag, and so I planted it in full sun and it died. The next year I went back, I asked the grower, he said that you need to grow in shade, and I have been able to keep my second one going. Next up is wild geranium or Geranium maculatum. It's easy to grow in average, medium, well-drained soil. It says online full sun to part shade for this plant, and I'm gonna say definitely full shade. I have it in full shade, and in July and August when it gets really hot, this is what it looks like. It's not terrible, but it's not great, so there's no way that I could grow this in full sun here. Mine does not rebloom, as most of these natives do not. The first year, I wasn't sure mine was going to make it, but I read that the foliage may yellow in hot summers if you allow it to dry out, and the foliage may even decline, at which point you can shear it back. If yours starts to look bad, I'd say don't give up. It may just be fine next year. Geranium maculatum is clump forming, so it's not going to spread out like the big root geranium does. It is a Missouri native. It's a woodland perennial. The blooms are a little less showy on this one than some of the other natives I've talked about, but I don't know why, I just like this plant. It's fared well in a really difficult spot. It's growing right next to my oak tree, and it just provides a nice clump with interesting shaped leaves in an otherwise bare spot. I think we are on number 12, and it is Dittany. This is a short growing native. It grows well in dry, rocky soil, open woods, clearings, slopes, and prairies. So it's a wide range. I have mine growing in shade and it's doing okay, but as I'm looking at this a little bit more, maybe I do need to try it in a little bit more sun. The description says a small mint plant that is habitually orderly and clean in appearance. And that's probably why I chose it. By September and October, it'll be maybe 12 inches tall at the most. Mine's not getting that tall. And it will be covered in small heart-shaped leaves and tiny lavender flowers. This picture is last year's blooms. It hasn't bloomed yet this year. I'm still waiting for this plant to realize its full potential, but I believe in this plant. I really like the look of it when it is blooming, and I'm just hoping that it looks better as time goes on, or maybe I just need to try it in a little bit more sun. But I like it enough to kind of keep with it and find the right spot for it. I hope that this video has been helpful and will inspire you to try some natives. It's a fun category of plants to experiment with and find some things that will work for you in your garden. Please subscribe if you liked this video and want to see more like it, and let me know what kinds of things you would like to see in future videos. Thanks for watching.